Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to make wild green pie that originated in Greece and it's called Hortopita. Horta in Greek translates into wild greens and pita translates into pie. As we don't have in Australia wild greens, we're going to use something that we can get from our local supermarket or what we can get at our farmer's market. I tend to often go there and get it, but today we're making it really easy for everyone. So we're going to start with ingredients that are here. So we have a bag of spinach. I think it's about 500 grams of fresh spinach, baby spinach. We have 2 bunches of Silverbeet or Chard, a little bit of dry oregano and Leek, spring onion, parsley, mint and 2 packets of dill, fresh dill as well. So as these are from supermarket, the best thing you can do is soak the greens. I usually fill water in a small sink with 2 tablespoons of bicarb soda, and I will chop this up and leave it to soak for 30 minutes so I can then start on the other part of the pie, which will be making the fresh dough and then getting the other wet ingredients to mix with the greens. So we'll start with step 1. So here in this lovely little bath with the bicarb soda and water, we have got all of our greens to soak for about 30 minutes. We've got obviously what's remaining of leek and a few spring onions. From chard, I have removed everything except just the green leaves are left, and then all the herbs are here as well. So now we're going to do pastry. Greens are now soaking and we can work on the pastry. Because pastry needs to also relax and sit, that will give us time to chop and prepare the other ingredients. So in the bowl we have actually got about 500 grams of flour. What I tend to use, I use stone ground whole grain flour. Whole grain is better for you instead of sticking with the white one. I always use that. We got 100 mils of olive oil here, some warm water in a glass, and 4 teaspoons of vinegar and 1.5 of teaspoon of salt. So we'll just make a little well in the center, and we'll basically start with olive oil, vinegar, salt, and we'll add some water and start to combine everything together. You can see how the you can use a white flour for it. I just tend to prefer to use the whole grain. It's actually much better for you. This doesn't really need a lot of kneading. It just basically combine everything together. I tend to use spatula, much easier. And once everything gets into the bowl, I'll be able to cover it and leave it to rest. So as you can see, I actually use all of my water. Don't use too much, just kind of see to get like a firmer, harder to mix pastry. And I'm just going to take this out in a second and just give it a little bit of kneading. See, just keep, that's why I use this spatula. I think it's for rice cooker actually, but you can use anything that you think it's okay for you. So that's really it. You can see it's like not sticky. It's really good. Like you can see my hands are almost clean. Just to give it a little bit of mixing a few times like that. Just to combine it in the bowl. As you have inside, you have also not just the vinegar to mix through, but also olive oil as well. See? It's getting there. So I'm just going to cover it with a Glad wrap and leave it to rest for about half an hour or an hour. Okay, so now I have got the greens going straight into salad spinner. The reason why I'm doing this is because I need to take all the liquid that is possible out of it, and this actually does the trick, which is amazing. And there we go. You can see how much drier they are. So now we're ready to chop. Chop them about an inch or centimeter, roughly. Straight into the bowl. It's really easy. And of course we are listening to some Greek music today. How else? We're making Greek pie. So what else we're gonna listen? Take us on holiday, I'd say. There we go. And we'll keep going with the others. While the pastry is resting, and we have actually finished washing and chopping all of our greens, except dry oregano, we just sprinkle that on top. So we will be mixing this with our wet ingredients, so that will be our next step. So now we're going to prepare the wet ingredients. We have got here 500 grams of feta, Greek feta, 500 grams of ricotta, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, a pinch of pepper, pinch of nutmeg, 1 lemon, because we're going to just use the juice. You can also use the rind. And now we are going to create the egg replacement. You will usually use 3 eggs, but we don't actually use the eggs. We're trying to be a bit more healthier that way. So we are preparing the egg with the flaxseed. So I already have got 7 tablespoons of water in here, and I'm going to use 3 tablespoons of flax seeds. It's actually really good for you. Flaxseed is really, really good as a fiber and as a replacement for the egg. So just gonna mix this and combine it together and set this aside. And you will see the consistency of this will be very different after a while. It will just sit and absorb all the liquid. You can see it's already starting to thicken as it is now. So we'll put this aside and we'll work on the cheese ingredients. So I'm just going to crumble some feta in a bowl. Just use your hands, it's the best thing to do. Okay, so feta has been crumbled, and now I'm using ricotta. I love to use a very good quality ricotta cheese. It's nice and creamy. Salt, pinch of pepper, nutmeg. I love nutmeg in here. Some lemon juice. Enough. And now we'll add, look at the consistency now of the flaxseed, how much is thickened. Now you can see why this has been used to replace the egg. Especially if you're suffering from cholesterol, I advise to take the eggs out of your diet for a bit. And we'll just combine everything together now. Just trying to combine a little bit of flaxseed with this before I add olive oil, just so you can see. And now I've got 60 ml of olive oil that I'm just going to sprinkle through. And that's basically all the wet ingredients done. And I will be mixing them with the greens just to get it through properly. Not really too hard. You just have to divide the 3 different sections of the pie, and everything will come together and it will be amazing. This is probably one of my husband's favorite meal. He absolutely loves it, and it's really good for you because the greens are good for you. We are using the wholemeal flour as well, a little bit of feta. You can actually take feta out and use tofu if you want, but it's really up to you. But you need the calcium. So yeah, everything is really, really good for you. So when we actually finish and combine all of the wet ingredients, we're going to combine it with all the greens. I tend to put tiny drizzle more of olive oil, just because you are going to do this mixing it together. You're finding this easier, and I tend to use my hands to do this. It's so much better, and you'll see why. because you want to massage that through it. That's where all the flavors are. There's no better way than using your hands. So the actual pies with all the greens and wild greens is very common in the Balkans or Mediterranean. It was peasant food, but it's something that everyone loves. That is homemade cooking, and something that our mums and grandmothers we used to make it. And as you move out of the house, you actually have to do this yourself. That's how I found all my favorite cooking that I was missing out. I had to learn to make it myself, because when I moved to Australia, I actually don't have any family here, so I had to learn to make everything I like by myself, watching exactly what you're now watching YouTube channels or reading the recipes on other people's blogs. But that's why we're here. We like to share everybody's experience and what everybody loves. So as you can see, this is all combining well together, and that's why I did use a little bit of oil as well. So we'll keep adding this, and then we'll add the rest of the spinach through here as well. I'm going to start adding a little bit of spinach and mix it through, because this is my biggest bowl that I have, so I have to make it work. So that will all be mixed together through. Take a little bit more. We're almost taken all of the spinach, it's all finished. It's a labor of love. It's definitely something that will take a little bit of time, but you know, it's a great thing. It's something that our grandmas used to make for hundreds and hundreds of years back, and it's something that you can get your family to involve to help you out. So when my husband helps me make this, he usually chops all the greens while I do the pastry, and then we assemble it all together. So have a glass of wine, enjoy the process. Nothing is in a hurry, so just relax and have fun. Pastry is now rested enough. You can see now it's much softer, and I tend to divide this in four. So I do two sheets of pastries for the bottom and two for the top. So here's the bottom one there, and I'll put this aside, and now I'll roll this out. So pan is 26 by 36. I'm just going to spray a little bit of oil, and then I'm going to stretch the pastry. Just use your rolling pin, and this will actually, you can see this doesn't stick. I use the Thermomix rolling mat, but in past I actually used Glad wrap. Glad wrap will do as well, and it just keep turning your pastry up and down. Flip it over and just roll it until it's about, I would say about 3 millimeters thick. You can see that. You can see where it's thicker, you can actually roll a bit more. So it should cover about half of the pan, baking tray. There you go. It's about that. And that will just sit like that on the edge. Don't worry if it rips, like mine just ripped a little bit here. That's not a problem, because that will be rolled at the end anyway, the edges. And now we're going to spray a little bit and then go on to the next one. There we go. This is the second piece. It's been stretched. Let's see, overlaps the other part. And just put it to the edges inside. And then we are ready to put our greens inside. So just use my hand, and I just push it to the corners. smells so good. If you could just smell all the greens, it's just amazing. It's feta and all the herbs and ricotta, leek and lemon. Everything is just so fragrant and fresh. So that's the whole bowl of greens that actually fit inside, and I just even it all up, and then it will be ready for the next 2 layers of pastry on top. That's about it. Amazing. I preheated my oven on 180 degrees Celsius fans force, and now I'll be able to put my next pastry on top. As you can see, this will fit just perfectly on top. That just cover all the corners. Don't you like this music as well? It's just perfect background sound. There we go. Spray with the oil, and the next layer of pastry as well. Okay, here we go. Last part. Now remember, this is a rustic dish, so you don't have to worry about how everything is looking, that everything has to be immaculate, that every pastry needs to be the same. It doesn't have to be. It's just spritz with oil, more. And now we can roll the edges around. Just tuck under, just keep going. Just feel free how to do this. Like as I said, it's not anybody's particular way. Just to roll it so you actually want to keep all the steams not coming out on the edges, and to close your pie. Now we're going to scour the top of it. I'm actually getting my husband to do this. He's Greek, Dimitri. He is actually master at this, so I'll leave it to him. But I'll post the actual layout and how to actually do this diamond shape, which is very traditional in Greek cooking. If you actually have ever tried galaktoboureko or even baklava, everything is done in this kind of shape. So I tend to put a tea towel underneath just to actually help to keep your tray steady. But yeah, look at that. That's amazing. I could not do it as good as he does. Okay, it's ready to go into the oven now. It should bake for an hour or an hour and a quarter. I always check it at 45 minutes and see how we go. Okay, it's been 45 minutes and I'm just gonna give it a turn. It looks and smells amazing. You can see that all the liquids are still bubbling, so you need to cook that. Here we are. It's all done and ready. I let it rest for about 15 minutes on a bench before we cut it, just so that all the juices are dispersed properly inside. And now we will slice it, serve it with yogurt, but that's optional. So enjoy it. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a big job to do, and I'm hoping you're going to enjoy it as a challenge. Please subscribe and leave me a comment and let me know how did you go with making it on Hortopita.